Good evening, welcome to Cardiff City TV.
What a finish, what a goal!
Good evening and a very Merry Christmas from us all here at Cardiff City TV, and thanks for joining us for this evening's game against Queen's Park Rangers. We had a respite last year from Cardiff City ruining Christmas for all you fans. No game because of COVID. Back with a Boxing Day fixture here though against Queen's Park Rangers. The Queen's Park Rangers team chasing the playoffs, a very, very different story of course for Cardiff, but riding a 2-game unbeaten streak heading into this game after the draws with Stoke and Blackpool. I'm joined by a very well-fed, well-watered John Donovan. I hope you had a lovely day, as we hope you all at home did yesterday. Back to football matters this afternoon. Concentrate the mind a little bit. It's going to be a tricky one, isn't it?
It is. First of all, I knew I'd eaten too much when our director asked for a wider shot, but yeah, it is going to be a tricky one. And it was so frustrating against Blackpool, 9 days ago, when Cardiff played some lovely football. And I was kind of glass half full about it. I thought this could be the start of something, particularly that front four, particularly Robinson against Etete. But then you read social media and you read the forums, and they're all very fair points. We should have put Blackpool away, and we didn't. So you now make the turn at the halfway point of the season, and at the moment we are in a relegation fight, Ash. So every game now becomes very, very important. Momentum becomes important. You mentioned there 2 games undefeated, albeit 2 draws. 2 games where I felt we should have won. It's important Cardiff build on that again tonight, but very, very tricky opposition, albeit with a new manager, but a team that even before we went down to 10 men, put us away quite comfortably back in October.
Yeah, and we'll touch on that reverse fixture in a little bit when we look ahead at today's game. But let's concentrate on the positives that we have seen in recent weeks, I guess. Mark Hudson, realistic of what he's witnessed in the last 2 weeks, said himself second half wasn't good enough a week ago. Certainly should have put Blackpool to bed. The second half against Stoke, conversely, very good last half an hour, incidentally. And I had Darren Pearce on with me on commentary for the Blackpool game, and I think the one thing we were both enthused about from both those games, either side of the World Cup stoppage, is that Cardiff City were creating chances, and that hasn't been the case all season long.
No, you're absolutely right. I think we touched upon that in the pre-game show with Ali last time out. You watched that game against Stoke and you thought, well, Cardiff are creating chances here. And it stuck out a mile because it just hasn't happened, as you say, and that continued against Blackpool. The next stage of that is to take chances. Blackpool shouldn't have been in the game at half-time. You know, we have to say there were some strange referee decisions, Callum Robinson's non-penalty being one. But you're absolutely right, there are positives. Mark Hudson in his press conference mentioned about QPR and their rotating front 3 or front 4. I felt Cardiff have done that well in recent games. Gavin White and Mark Harris I thought were decent in the first half. Mark Harris I know came on, but the wide players were decent in the either game, Stoke and Blackpool. I think Robinson, more of a number 10 who can get forward in support of Etete, just allows him to play in that corridor of uncertainty between defensive midfielders and centre-halves. And Etete has suddenly discovered what we all kind of read about him in the summer: power, pace, a lot of potential, and a goal-scoring threat as well. And he's earned the shirt, and that's great to see when a player kind of stands up and says, "I want the shirt." So, absolute positives about the way Cardiff have been playing front-foot attacking football, creating chances. But again, you should have put Blackpool away. If those chances come tonight against QPR, Ash, Cardiff needs to take them.
So let's talk a little bit about Kion Etete. You said we haven't got much to go on. He's been beleaguered by injuries at the start of the season, but we had the Whittingham game, which was more than a competitive, friendly fixture. We had the cameo against Stoke, and then we had that start against Blackpool. One can only assume in between that, especially in the World Cup stoppage, that he's really impressed in training and has proven that what he's been working on has been what the coaches have been asked to get that start. And my word, he's been impressive from what we've seen.
You're absolutely right. He's as former manager Steve Morrison said at the start of the year, he's 6 foot something. He's not a target man, but he is athletic, he is big. And I think what he does, he occupies centre halves, which means Callum Robinson is benefiting from that by having more space to play in. He's a willing worker, he's got a good engine on him. You know, you were saying to me against Blackpool in the 80th minute, you wanted him in the box, but he was still chasing balls out wide. He was still working hard, leading the line. So he's a good athlete, despite the fact he hasn't got a lot of minutes under his belt. It was a very cool, composed finish against Blackpool, so he's obviously got that in his locker as well. You said about the Peter Whittingham match, we saw him score a fine taken goal there. So he can finish, he's got a good engine on him. All right, he's not an out-target man, but when you have that 6 foot something frame, you're going to draw centre-halves towards you, and that allows the like of Callum Robinson, and tonight maybe Ruben Colwill, to play in a little bit more space. So Kion Etete has been the feel-good story since coming back from the World Cup break, and credit to him, credit to Mark Hudson, credit to Dean Whitehead for obviously the work they've done with him on the training ground. And is he the focal point? Is he the striker Cardiff have maybe been looking for?
And let's look at the team then, very briefly. We're going to hear from Cardiff manager Mark Hudson in a minute or so, but let's look at the team for this evening. There are changes, there are positive changes. It's the changes that the fans have been clamouring for, that being Ruben Colwill getting his first start since August. It looks like it might be in that narrow 4-4-2 formation that Cardiff played pretty well first half against Blackpool. Callum Robinson able to wander off Kion Etete. It does mean probably that Ruben's going to have to play a little wider than perhaps you and I and some others would like, but with Callum O'Dowda starting in the left-back position and given that space to drive forward, then perhaps it won't be that paint the boots position that has frustrated us about Ruben Colwill at times, particularly Huddersfield away when he came on earlier in the season.
I think you're right. It certainly won't be chalk on the boots. And again, Mark Hudson talked about QPR's front line, the rotation of it, playing off Lyndon Dykes. I think that's what Mark Hudson wants. We all had our opinions on the formation Cardiff played against Blackpool. I called it a 4-2-3-1 with Robinson kind of playing a bit more as a number 10, but as you rightly say, getting alongside Etete, getting beyond him. White and the other winger that day, was it Harris? I can't remember who started. Who was dropping in to make it a solid midfield when we didn't have the ball, but could be expansive, could go forward, could come inside. And you're right about Ruben Colwill. I want to see him play in that 10 position, but you can't drop Callum Robinson, or you can't move Callum Robinson. He was exquisite against Blackpool, and he's been the star man for Cardiff. I think Ruben Colwill will grow into that more central position. Whether there's still thoughts about his defensive game, whether you don't want him in the middle of the park giving turnovers away, because he is a player who, because he wants to get on the ball, he wants to make things happen. As a result, turnovers will happen. So maybe you can protect him more in an outside area. But you're right, he won't play as an out-and-out winger. He will drift inside. There will be that rotation. Robinson will go out. Colwill will come into number 10. Philogene will probably hold a little bit more width. And we know how good he was before his injury for the World Cup break. So I've seen the social media reaction. You're right, this is a team that Cardiff City fans have been crying out for, that they want to get behind. Hopefully, we see this team have the cutting edge.
Well, we're going to speak more about Cardiff and Queen's Park Rangers ahead of kick-off here in a chilly Cardiff City Stadium this evening. But first, let's hear from manager Mark Hudson, where he's caught up with a colleague of mine just a little bit earlier.
We've come back in. We've been through the Blackpool and so we reviewed that, had a good meeting, trained, put quite a handful of players into the under 21s game. Went down to watch that, so got some good valuable minutes into some players that we needed to. It was really valuable, and it was a perfect time. We managed to reschedule a game that was postponed due to a frozen pitch, but which suited us and suited what we needed from the group. So, it was good to go down and watch that and see, who took the chance really, and who's put the minutes in their legs. Which is, again, I'll bring it up. Obviously, with Ruben, we know where he's at. We know he's not started many games this year. We've been through all his completed sessions from start of pre-season to date. and then where he's at. And then obviously Isaac's come back, completed 60 minutes, which is great. So he's been out pretty much since the last game of last season. Vont's played full minutes. Jaden came back, started the game from his operation. So yeah, some positive news from the week. Yeah, I want to be able to be put in those positions and have to make decisions for people pushing. Exactly what we spoke about before, what we speak about with the players. It's about everyone. It's about everyone wanting to be in the shirt, in the 11, on the bench as well. So yeah, decisions to be made, but a positive week for those that come through, and they've all come through fine. So there's no issues from that game, which is great. Yeah, I mean, we've seen him obviously when he was at Blackpool, and then we've seen how the teams line up. There wasn't massive changes in the shape from what we've looked at. Obviously under Michael, we've experienced their team before when we went down there to QPR, but yeah, they're a good side. They've got good individuals. They've got a good midfield, a front line, good rotations. Willock's come back in. Cher's come back in. Come back from a World Cup. So they've got good individuals. They're a good team. They've picked up a result in the last one. Before that, form wasn't so good. So, but we'll be looking to expand on the first 45 minutes that we had and look to make that longer period of time that we play that way. We've had the meetings with the players and showed that if we play the way that we can, but make it longer, that we will get more points from games. We can go into games confident that we can play that way and be competitive against anyone, because we've shown that. But we need to take points. We need to be the ruthless side of the game, defensively and attacking, and then we'll look to get 3 points on Boxing Day for sure.
Just seeing Ruben Colwill's free kick from Loftus Road from last season behind us as part of the pre-match build-up here within Cardiff City Stadium. And if you're just joining us, Merry Christmas again. Thank you for doing so. And the headline news is that Ruben Colwill starts this evening as part of the Cardiff City front line. We're not really sure whether it's as the 10, whether it may be from an inside left or an inside right position in a 4-4-2 for Cardiff. It's yet to be seen. But regardless of that, it's an attacking move from Mark Hudson. It was an attacking team selection against Blackpool, and it very nearly paid dividends with a really good opening 45 minutes. And he's gone for it again this evening.
Yeah, you've got to be fair to Mark Hudson. The results perhaps haven't been there, but I thought against Stoke, a game I watched, I didn't travel to, I thought he got his substitutions right and affected the game. And I thought against Blackpool he went brave from the start, and it was a very good 45 minutes, and maybe his team didn't carry it through. So you've got to be fair to the manager. He's trying to affect games. It's a big second half of the season for Ruben Colwill. I made the tongue-in-cheek joke on commentary last week. Every time I pick up a newspaper about him, I read about another growth spurt. He's going to be 9 foot soon. But what a magical player he is, and his brother is coming up as well, and there's high hopes for him. But Ruben Colwill, he can be a difference maker. He's gone to 2 major championships now, albeit he hasn't played minutes, but he's been around world-class players, and he, from what manager Robert Page says at Welsh level, certainly hasn't looked out of place. Now is the time for him to grab the shirt. We talked about Kion Etete grabbing a shirt. Maybe different managers have different opinions of Ruben Colwill, but I want him in this second half of the season to grab the shirt, to be the guy who almost puts the team on his back, creatively helping Cardiff score goals. Yeah, it's pressure for a youngster, but if you're good enough, you're old enough. And I think Ruben Colwill's good enough.
Ruben Colwill then one of the starting 11 this evening that Mark Hudson has chosen. Should see a team graphic in front of you right there. The rest of the Cardiff team: Ryan Alsop making goals, Marlon Romeo, Perry and G, Cedric Keeperay, and Callum O'Dowda as part of the back four this evening. That midfield pairing of Ryan Wintle and Captain Joe Rolls, and then some kind of formation of the front four of Jaden Philogene and Ruben Colwill brought into the starting 11 today, with Callum Robinson and Kion Etete retained. Let's switch some attention then. Queen's Park Rangers. We've had guaranteed entertainment from games between Cardiff City and Queen's Park Rangers in recent seasons. Other than that Ruben Colwill free kick, it hasn't always been a happy occasion for Cardiff City. They are a team that have built gradually in recent seasons, but when you're working within the means they've got you, they produce talent, they sell it on, the manager moves on, and they're going through that cycle yet again this season. Neil Critchley, just his second game in charge here this evening after what he did at Blackpool so well last season, and they're caught in a perpetual cycle, aren't they, of not quite getting to the promotion places and then having to reset again.
You're absolutely right. I thought it was a shrewd managerial appointment with Neil Critchley after Michael Beale's departure. When they beat us at Loftus Road, I think they were top of the league. Wolves had just come in for Michael Beale. He turned them down. Les Ferdinand probably thought he could, breathe a sigh of relief. And then the merry-go-round started again, and Michael Beale went to Rangers. But Neil Critchley is someone who has been part of that Stephen Gerrard philosophy, replacing Michael Beale now in a couple of jobs. So I don't think there's going to be too many changes. I think it's going to be an attacking 4-3-3. And I was just reading about that Preston game, and Lyndon Dykes said Neil Critchley came in and didn't try and change too much. He's trying to tweak how they look without the ball, maybe a defensive shape, but he's not going to try something or try to fix something that wasn't really broken, albeit they've been winless in 6 games before that win against Preston. But I think, as you say, they've been building bit by bit, season after season. I do think they've got more depth in the squad this year, and if Neil Critchley can impart his ideas, I do think they can make the playoffs. I've been impressed with the way they keep the ball, play their football, and then they're very powerful going forward. Lyndon Dykes is an old-fashioned centre-forward, but then the rest of the very skillful team build off him. I like them, and this is going to be a very, very difficult game this evening.
I guess you're looking at the team graphic there. Now, headline news for Queen's Park Rangers, Elias Shahir back on the bench this evening after his exploits with Morocco at the World Cup. But it does mean a start for Albert Dodoma, and there's another return then in the centre of defence where Rob Dickey's been out with the team in recent weeks. Jay Clark-Salter drops out this evening, Dickey back in, which can only be a net positive for Queen's Park Rangers. Plenty of attention on the middle of the park in championship fixtures in general. Looking at Cardiff's formation, it does look like we're going to be left a body short this evening and a 3-on-2 in there. I like Whittle and Rawls as a pairing, but that's a dynamic 3 that Queen's Park Rangers can call upon, even without Stefan Johansson there.
It really is, and you mentioned Stefan Johansson, who really, in a quieter way to Elias Chair, ran the show at Loftus Road back in October. He's so composed there. It was a bonus to see him out. But you're right, the midfield 3 is still very, very good. And Iro Bunam, whose name I constantly pronounce wrong, Ash, you'll correct me in a moment, the Aston Villa loanee, I think he's excellent. I think he's strong in the tackle, he gets on the ball, he's got a great engine, he can play as a more defensive midfielder if he needs to, or he can spring forward. I think you're right, I think there's a 3-on-2 overload in there, so that's where Cardiff will need to be a little bit clever. You don't necessarily want Robinson to drop in and negate him in the 10 role, so Colwill will need to come a little narrow, maybe Philogene a little narrow, but I'm worried about that midfield matchup because I think QPR potentially have the edge there, and I was just looking over your shoulder at some of the results coming through with Blackpool drawing and Huddersfield winning. I still think it's very, very important for Cardiff to get a positive result out of this evening's game.
Yeah, just looking at the team graphic there, it's an opportunity for Queen's Park Rangers to push themselves right back into the playoff hunt, because it does look like there's a top 2 to maybe a top 3 starting to pull away in that regard. For Cardiff, obviously, it's a very different story. It's just a case of, regardless of positive performances at the moment, we need to get points on the board, and it needs to happen quite quickly.
Well, that's what the second half of the season is about. We are not in a good position at the moment. Again, I know I annoy some fans, I annoy many people, but I annoy some fans. I still see positives. I still see positives of how we play football under Steve Morrison. I see certain positives of how we played football under Mark Hudson. We've had more of a cutting edge under Mark Hudson, so some foundations have been built. But at the turn of the season, you've got to stop talking about ifs, buts and maybes and hard luck stories. It now becomes a results-based business. Cardiff have got to very, very quickly get away from this relegation dogfight. We've seen West Brom string some results together. They've got to be the model for Cardiff City. I still think Cardiff has some good
Coventry
players
as well.
here. Coventry as well, absolutely. So 2-3 positive results can change everything. But we've got to stop talking about hard luck stories. We've got to stop talking about a work in progress. We're through half the season now. These players have been on the training pitch a lot together. It's time to start picking up results.
One thing to note, I don't know if you've seen any warm-up shots actually, but Cardiff will be wearing the changed grey strip at home this evening. That is part of the EFL's affiliation with Shelter, the homelessness charity, and a Change the Kit appeal promotion that they are running this afternoon, and several teams up and down the country are bringing light to that campaign by wearing their changed strip at home, which is why Cardiff will be wearing the grey and black change kit this afternoon. Cardiff haven't won on Boxing Day for 10 years. Queen's Park Rangers haven't won away on Boxing Day since 1967. We've made a bit of a habit in recent seasons of letting teams break some long-standing records. Let's hope this afternoon, or this evening rather, isn't the same case, and it's a late Christmas present for Neil Critchley's new men. We've got an interview with Ruben Colwill coming up in a couple of minutes' time, and just a reminder, if you're living outside of the UK, you can tune in and watch this Boxing Day fixture with us this evening on Cardiff City TV. Otherwise, please, if you're out of the house and travelling, do tune in to Mark Denham and John Donovan on live audio commentary. But we've got live coverage coming up at the other side of this interview with a starter this evening, Ruben Colwill.
Ruben, QPR come to Cardiff City Stadium on Boxing Day. You must be looking forward to that game.
Yeah, definitely. It's always nice to have games around Christmas time. It's a traditional thing, and yeah, I really enjoy playing around the holidays. So.
We played them at Loftus Road earlier in the season. Wasn't the result for us, but it's a good chance to put that right today, isn't it?
Yeah, definitely. We'll all be up for it. Obviously, the result didn't go away there, so that gets us more up for it. And yeah, we've been training hard and working hard on the training pitch, so we'll all definitely be ready. So.
Having those festive fixtures, 3 games in 6 days, it's tough on the bodies, but that's what you want as players, isn't it? As many games as you can. Yeah,
definitely. We all love playing. That's why we play football, and obviously it's a congested fixture. Sometimes it's a chance to rotate the squad, to try new players and see how it goes. But yeah, we're all really up for it, and we can't wait to play.
And having the Boxing Day game at home is a help for you boys as well. Less travelling, that must be a bit of an advantage for you all.
Yeah, definitely. That's always the fixture you want to be at home, is that Boxing Day one. It helps a lot, and we'll definitely have an advantage in terms of travelling, but with the home support as well, they'll really be behind us, I'm sure. So yes, it's a big advantage.
And you mentioned that home support there. It's going to be a big crowd, a TV game as well. That adds a little bit to it, doesn't it?
Yeah, definitely. Always spices it up when it's on TV and around Christmas. Obviously, like you said, the big crowd, and yeah, we all can't wait to get out there and play in front of all the fans. So.
A good run out for the under-21 team today, a 2-0 win against Sunderland. What's it like to get back out there and have a bit more regular action?
Yeah, it was nice, to start a game. I haven't started for a while. Obviously, had a lot of injury problems this season, but yeah, it was really nice to be back out there today. Yeah, I just really enjoyed playing football and getting back out on the pitch. So.
And you personally, you caught us all out with that free kick, myself included. What was going through your mind when you set it up?
Well, I'd been watching Sangi whip them in for 4 or 5 minutes before, just putting them in, and I was looking at the keeper, and he looked really eager to go out and get the ball. So I just thought, I'll have a shot here and try and put it as close to the corner as I could, and luckily it went in. So.
And it doesn't matter what level you score them at. Any time you get the ball in the back of the net, that gives you a confidence boost, doesn't it?
Yeah, definitely. It's always special to score a goal. Like you said, it doesn't matter what level it is. You sort of zoned in on the game, so any goal's a confidence booster, definitely.
And good for you guys to combine as well. Isaac, Sangi, Jaden. It's a really strong side out there, and you can link up well and get to know each other even more on the pitch.
Yeah, definitely. It was a really strong group today. We've had a lot of injury troubles, really, so it's good. We're all coming back at the same time now, and yeah, it was a big help that we all got to play together today and sort of gel even more. So.
Top 5 in association with the Big Yellow Self-Storage Company.
Clears long downfield, finding Bothroyd. Now can he get past Gawkes? He's on the corner of the Rangers area. Left-footed cross comes in. That was a handball. Oh, it's a goal for Cardiff City. Play on, said the referee. And Bellamy has made it 2-1. In there, strong tackle. Peltier does well also, no Joe Rawls. good ball to find Malone in space. Edge of the box, Scott Malone left-footed. Oh, what a strike, Scott Malone! Cardiff have equalised in the final minute, and it's a beautiful goal from Scott Malone.
And the irony of it all is the Queen's Park Rangers are incensed with a poor refereeing decision. They feel Peltier blocked off the tackle in midfield, allowed Cardiff to turn upfield.
Wolves is also there, but I fancy this will be Colwill in front of the City fans. 17 minutes left, 1-1. Here's Ruben Colwill.
Oh, what a goal that is! 2-1 to City! And just as I built it up for you, Ruben Colwill has delivered. And that is special. High ball forward, away towards the far side. Hill controls it, plays a long ball forward towards the halfway line. Quinn heads it forward, looking for Burke. He turns it infield. Bellamy gives it wide to Bothroyd. Far side, level with the edge of the Rangers area, cutting infield. Can he get his shot in? He can! Oh, scored! Bothroyd has scored! 5 minutes into the game. What a goal!
World class goal. Watch that, BBC cameras. That was amazing. That was world class.
His 20th goal of the season, and it's come after 5 minutes play, and no goalkeeper, including Paddy Kenny, would stop that.
Good evening, welcome to Cardiff City TV.
What a finish. What a goal.
Good evening and a very happy Boxing Day from all of us here at Cardiff City TV. Welcome, thank you for joining us this evening for this live coverage of the Bluebirds and Queen's Park Rangers. A year off last year because of the re-emergence of COVID, back with a Boxing Day fixture here on this cold wintry evening in the Welsh capital as the Bluebirds look for their first win on December the 26th for a whole decade. And the two teams, Cardiff City and Queen's Park Rangers, being led out by captains Joe Rolls and Sam Field. First thing to note, be aware that Cardiff City are wearing their change strip of grey and black fade this evening. That is part of the EFL's awareness campaign in conjunction with Homeless Charity Shelter to bring awareness to that promotional campaign. A select number of teams across the EFL have decided to wear their change strips at home, Cardiff being one of them, and that is your second headline news for the evening. Cardiff with two changes to the team that drew with Blackpool a week ago. They're both in the attacking areas. Ruben Colwill, a match winner at Loftus Road last season with that magnificent free kick, starts as one of the three attacking midfielders, as does Jaden Philogene. Both came off the bench in the second half a week ago. They both start this afternoon in place of, well, first and foremost, Mark Harris, who has dropped to the bench, and also Gavin White. Changes as well for Queen's Park Rangers. Rob Dickey comes back in to solidify a back line without Jake Clark-Salter. Dickey's been out in recent weeks, but has been largely excellent in his 2 and a bit years at the club. Elias Shahir, fresh off his exploits with Morocco at the World Cup, is fit enough only for a return to the bench though. So former Cardiff City loanee Albert Adoma starts on one of the flanks. There is the young man in question. Cardiff fans have been clamouring for it. His first championship start since August